Ink therapy, ink therapy, ink therapy, ink therapy. Ain't nobody
Oh,
better,
I'd like to
I'ma
thank
give it
everybody
all I
for tuning into the
got.
therapy session. This is my first podcast. This is the first episode, The Origin. As we get into this, we're going to be talking a lot about tattoo industry, talking about healing through tattoos, talk about my journey in the tattoo industry. So yeah, let's get into it. So my story is I started tattooing about 7 years ago. I opened Ink Therapy about 2 years ago. What got me into tattooing was my love for art. I've always been an artist since a young age. My mom always encouraged me to be an artist, always to draw, always to sketch. My dad was in the Marines and he was deployed overseas, and she would encourage me to draw pictures for my dad. So that's what I did, and I would send them to him overseas. So yeah, that started at an early age. Moving on, always started to do art, got into graffiti. Um, just pursuing all type of different mediums of art. Always been passionate about art. In my teens, I got into graffiti, doing a lot of spray can, doing a lot of illegal artwork, learning about letters and different styles. And moving on to my adulthood, started doing murals, started doing larger scale artworks, and a lot of my artwork was inspired by tattoos. So it just kind of, it just seemed to go naturally together. I opened Ink Therapy about 2 years ago, and man, what a run! We been voted best tattoo shop twice since we've been opened up, 2024 and 2025. This year, I've been voted best tattoo artist, and it's a great accolade. I don't take this award softly. I think it's a huge accomplishment. Ink Therapy. How did I get the name Ink Therapy? Well, I got the name Ink Therapy, I would say about 4 years ago. I was tattooing at another shop, and a lot of my clients were coming in. They were like, man, I need this therapy. Man, it's ink therapy. And they would be getting tattooed and, talking about what's going on in their lives and, kind of just opening up to me like I was a therapist. As soon as that needle hit, the walls are down and we're able to have discussions about, you know, what's going on in their life. And by the time tattoo is done, you can tell that not only did they feel good about the tattoo, but they feel good like all of that pressure has been off of their shoulders. So it just kept coming like ink therapy. I kept hearing it. And at a tattoo convention, I was like, you know what? I'm about to make this my brand. So I bought a light up light, kind of like a logo that lit up that said Ink Therapy, and I kept it in my booth when I went back to the shop, and it just started to like ring. It started to catch. So now, when I started thinking about opening a tattoo shop, I was like, you know what, therapy. And a lot of people were like, "There's already Ink Therapy, da 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 da." But you can't listen to other people, y'all. Y'all got to do what you got to do. You got to start somewhere. And my start was Ink Therapy. So the vision of this podcast is just to talk about the tattoo industry, talk about healing through art, healing through tattoos, sharing experiences in the tattoo industry, to give you free game, to, just encourage people that are up and coming artists on how to become better artists, on how to become better mentors, how to become better shop owners. Mm. This is all free game for everybody that is tuning in. There's a lot of information that I'm willing to share over these years that I've learned, and I'm willing to, bring guests and listen to comments and listen to all kind of other people's suggestions on how to make this podcast better. But yeah, it's all about free game for people that are involved in the tattoo industry. Mental health. Well, I feel like tattooing definitely helps people. The reason in therapy seems to be so successful is because we care. All of my artists, all my apprentices, even the front desk person, we care about the client. We care about them as soon as they walk into the door. We care about providing unforgettable experience. So when the tattoo starts, the building and the helping of the client get through experiences, especially a tattoo. A tattoo is not easy. It's a painful experience and it can be traumatizing. So, the goal is to get through this experience and get out of it the other end feeling way better than when they came into the door. Um, there's been certain instances where, I've tattooed somebody and they talked about, things that they're experiencing. And it is nothing for me to at least listen and let them get that off their chest. Being a tattoo artist, I understand the importance of conversating, especially if someone's going through something like a tattoo, not just going through something mentally, being able to listen and guide them through. I've had a experience when I was getting tattooed by an artist in San Antonio called Butter Kills, and he was talking about how getting tattooed should feel like this is an achievement and that we get the opportunity to get tattooed and get through it the other side and getting through that accomplishment, being brave enough to sit in the chair, go through that pain, and know that at the other side you're going to come out as a better person. And when I heard that, I realized, man, this is more than just the tattoos, just more than just the artwork, it's more than just booking clients and things like that. It's about guiding people through an experience to get better on the other end. And that's what the goal is with Ink Therapy. And that's been always my goal with tattooing is just to help people slowly improve themselves, whether it be a tattoo or whether it be a conversation to help them get through the other end. Challenges and growths. Well, Ink Therapy has experienced a lot. I've experienced a lot through not just these 2 years, but the 8 years that I've been tattooing. First thing is like the hardest thing was to find a mentor, to find an artist that was willing to take me on as an apprentice. It took me at least almost 2 years. I had no idea how to find an artist, how to find somebody that was willing to apprentice me. I had tried some places, but they weren't willing to take on apprentices. They had looked at my portfolio and kind of just like, shrugged me off a little bit. The other thing was I was working pretty much a full-time job. So I was just trying to figure out how this would all work. I finally got a mentorship from a tattoo shop called Monsters Inc. And the artist was Will Robinson. He had been in the industry for wow, 20 plus years, had like 4 or 5 shops already. Um, he made it quite simple. He was like, you got to work under me for a year. This is the price. After that year, and you've done everything needed to be done, you get your license. And made it just very straightforward and simple. Fast forward to 8 years plus now, me and him are still friends. He's still my mentor. I look up to him a lot because he's blessed me with this opportunity to be a tattoo artist. The shop, it was not easy to open up a tattoo shop in the Broad Avenue Arts District was one of the strongest situations that I've had where there was a lot of hurdles that I had to leap over to open the shop. One reason being that this area is not coded for tattoo shops. I had to do special permits to get the shop open over here. Even with that, they had to do a town hall meeting to get that approved before the shop could even open. There was a lot of hurdles. There was a lot of hurdles, but I didn't give up. Even the business owner, when I was opening the shop, the business owner, the property owner was kind of not leaning towards having a tattoo shop here. He wasn't sure what type of clientele that would bring him, and his previous um people that were renting the space here, weren't the best tenants. They weren't paying on time, and I think at that point he was just like kind of fed up with bad tenants, and he was just like, I don't know, a tattoo shop might be the best thing. But you know, I pursued. And then the other thing was that because I had to do all of the permits and get this special certificate, there was no guarantee that I could actually turn this into a tattoo shop. So when the space became available, I still had 5 to 6 months before I could even open the shop. So that meant that I had to lock the space in. So I was paying rent here for almost 6 months before I even turned it into a shop. I utilized the space as much as I possibly could. I did like weekly art meetups, and I was doing different things where I would bring in yoga instructors and we do yoga, or we're doing small little events in here, DJ events and things like that. But you know, I just had to look at the end goal. The end goal was to, get this all open. Even when I first opened this shop, there was no walls. It was complete open studio. So, we had to get contractors in here. We had to get people to, you know, be able to build these walls to set the space up to be a tattoo shop. There's a lot of legal things that go on about tattoo shop, and there's a lot of health department things that go along with tattoo shop. Like each area needs to have like a hand sink, and each area needs to have like a wall up, and the place has to be inspected by the health department regularly. So there's just a lot of things that like a shop owner needs to think about when they go into opening a shop, especially like figuring out like is the area coded for a tattoo shop. Since we've been here and since the shop has been open, people come and go. Uh, and that's another thing is like when you have artists, people are going to artists are going to be artists, and that's understandable because I know me as an artist, I could be hard to deal with at times. Think different. Artists think different than other people, and we're in our feelings too. Artists are very in their feelings. But beyond that, I've met a lot of cool people and I've trained a lot of cool people. I've been able to work alongside a lot of cool people, and some people have went on their ways, and that's fine too. But that's the thing about the tattoo industry is that like it's not guaranteed that like the shop is going to operate at full capacity. That's going to be the one of the main as hard things for a tattoo shop owner to realize is that like they have to work really, really hard to keep their shop at capacity. And that's not a guarantee. Apprentices that come and go as well, but you can't really just rely on only apprentices as well. It has to be a balance. You got to think, do you want to do piercings? Do you going to have piercings involved in your tattoo shop? If you're going to have piercings involved, you have to have a good piercer. What I have come to realize with owning a tattoo shop is that if the owner is not able to step in when the times is low, or when there's no artists or there's no or piercers in the shop, and the owner's not able to step in and take care of that slack, then there could be a problem with maintaining rent or maintaining enough funding to keep the shop open. So that's just something that to think about. I would like to tell you that it's always peaches and cream and there's always flowers on the other end, but it's not always that. And if you're not able to do that hard work to keep the shop maintained, then it could be hard. Finding management to run the shop, run the front desk. There's a lot of moving parts with having the shop, but there's a lot of fun parts. As a mentor, I'm obligated to give at least a year of my time to the apprentice. And that year, I'm teaching them all about the tattoo industry. And I'm not just talking about how to tattoo. Me as a mentor, I'm teaching them everything about the business because believe it or not, this is a business. To keep yourself booked and to keep a good steady flow of clientele, you have to operate as a business. And I know a lot of tattoo artists kind of fight the whole ideal of social media and promo. But the thing is, you have to promote yourself. You have to run as a business, especially if you decide to one day possibly open your own tattoo shop. So, me as a mentor, that is the main thing that I am pushing. I'm pushing them to understand how everything operates. from signing in their client, taking the paperwork, to setting up, to how the tattoo process works, how to even book appointments, how to talk to their clients through the whole booking process, how to not only rely on booking apps, but actually talk to their clients. If they DM you, talk to the client through the DM. If they call here, if they call the artist on the phone, talk to the client about what is their process and recommend that they come in for a consultation. I feel like consultation is the most important thing. If you're going to get a tattoo, sending a picture and a reference is one thing, but coming in for 5 or 10 minutes to talk to the artist in person, to get a vibe on what that artist is about. That consultation is the most important thing. To get that tattoo the best is have a consultation, meet the artist, talk about your design, see the placement, see the skin type, and then and once you meet that artist in person, you might realize I don't even like that person. A lot of that can happen in the first 5 to 10 minutes of that consultation, and that's no sweat off of nobody's back. The main thing is realizing that, like, okay, who am I getting a tattoo by? And that goes a long way to chemistry. Like like I was talking about here, ink therapy is all about presenting an atmosphere and a vibe and an experience. So, I highly recommend consultations. The other thing is with my apprentices, you know, we're always looking about how can we better ourselves as artists? How can we, make different flashes? How can we practice different styles? I really ask all of my apprentices to be versatile in all styles. And I'm not just talking about fine lines or traditional, like we're practicing all the styles of tattooing. And I just feel like that is important, not only for a shop artist, but for any tattoo artist, because it's good to have a niche, but it's also good to be well skilled in all of the styles of tattooing, just so that it broadens your clientele base. But everybody thinks different, everybody operates differently. But yeah, me as a mentor, I'm teaching cleanliness, hygiene. I even go as far as talking to my artists about how their dress is, how their dress code is, how they present themselves to their clients. I don't allow my artists to come in looking like they just got out of bed. That is something I really shun upon. And I think what's important about that is if you go to work at any other establishment, they don't allow you to dress any type of way. So if you're seeing this as a business, you have to operate as a business and you have to come ready to work. Clients are paying high top dollar to get a tattoo. And believe it or not, they might not say it, but they're like, this dude is bummy as hell. If the artist is bummy, you got to think like, okay, how do they think about their tattooing or their craft? And that's just how I feel. Everybody's different, but I feel like, you got to present yourself in the best light. And, if you dress good, you feel good. You're going to put out the best work that you possibly can. If you dress good, you feel good. So that's just some of the things that, I try to instill into my apprentices. But the main thing is just understanding that, like, this is a business, and as a business you must operate and think as a business only to be successful. So me as an artist, I'm always about personal growth. I'm never happy with where I'm at as a tattoo artist. I'm always trying to strive to be better. I've been tattooing for 8 years, and I just feel like there's always so much more to learn. I've been doing seminars, but the most that I've been getting out of learning is doing the one-on-ones. They're more expensive, and it requires a lot more out of you, but you got to do your research. But I highly recommend that, like, if you really want to get further in your career and you want to push yourself to learn more, find an artist that you really like and go do a one-on-one with them. It could be pricey, But trust me, you're going to get a lot out of that experience. I recently just did a seminar with David Vega, flew all the way to Austin, Texas, and I got so much out of that just because it was just me and him. He was able to like help me get my hand speed and help me work on my pendulum better for like cleaner shading. And it just seemed to have worked so much better. So I highly recommend that, like, if you're trying to do any personal growth in the tattoo industry, I recommend at least going to seminars. But if you are capable of doing it, do a one-on-one. One-on-one is going to help you so much more. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to the therapy session. This has been David Yancey III. And if you like hearing about art, hustle, and free game about the tattoo industry, well, then this is your opportunity to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you know anybody that needs some therapy, share this to them.